so back in September of 2023, Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders called a special session to cut taxes. And she also attempted to change the state's rigorous Freedom of Information Act. I say attempt because she was partly successful in at least getting some of what she wanted, but not all. The sweeping changes that were proposed alarmed both Republicans and Democrats, and the Republican-dominated House of Representatives revolted last year and refused to gut Arkansas's FOIA laws. When the governor finally signed the new law that contained some changes, again, to FOIA, the general consensus was that those who want to go further would be back next time and try again to alter the way in which citizens can gain access to government secrets. The idea that the Arkansas legislature will once again try to, quote, reform, end quote, Arkansas's FOIA laws has sparked the birth of Arkansas Citizens for Transparency. It's also sparked the birth of a ballot initiative aiming to permanently enshrine elements of Arkansas's existing FOIA law into the state constitution. The ballot initiative would also set up new government entities as well, and we'll talk more about that. One of the backers of this ballot initiative is a friend of the program. Attorney Joey McCutchen is back with us and joins us now to talk more about this. Joey, how are you on this fine afternoon, sir?
Doing well, doing real well.
Good.
Looking forward to discussing what I consider to be the most important initiative that this state has ever seen.
Well, so talk a little bit about, you were kind of there at the Capitol when the special session went on last year, and you were trying to stop the gutting of Freedom of Information Act laws. Were you surprised when the Republicans in the House of Representatives decided not to play ball and decided not to just, rubber stamp these massive FOIA changes?
Well, I don't think I was necessarily surprised, but I think it was more a select few of freshman representatives who were not playing ball. And I was very proud of that group of freshman representatives who would not suspend rules and would not gut our Freedom of Information Act.
Okay, so you're talking about those freshmen, they hadn't gotten the memo yet. they were freshmen and they didn't understand that, hey, you needed to fall in line and toe the line. That's what you're saying.
It is, but again, I think they went into this session, Republicans who dominate the legislature. I think they went into that special session thinking that they were going to do what the governor asked. And I don't think they were given the details of what it meant to pass a deliberative process amendment. And I think there were a couple of very courageous Republicans who stood up. And then I think the rest of them showed the courage that they needed to show to tell the governor, we're not sacrificing our right to know for your agenda.
Okay, so obviously we remember the headlines at that time, or at least I do. They were saying originally this was about the governor's security detail and things like that. And that was part of the bill. But can you talk about the other parts of it that were, what would that have fundamentally meant if they had been successful? How would that have significantly changed the freedom of information? How we as citizens get access to our government's information?
Yeah, I don't speak in hyperbole when I say that it would have gutted open records in Arkansas. What a deliberative process exemption means is that we would not see the sausage making. That is, as policy was being created on a state level, we would not be able to see it as it transpired. The only thing we would see would be the final product. So we wouldn't be able to see the memos. We wouldn't be able to see the deliberative process. And that's a dangerous proposition. All we would see is the final product. All they would have to do is CC the government lawyer, and lo and behold, the people don't see the documents. We don't know who's behind that particular policy. and it would have literally changed the complexion of our complete open records law.
Yeah, I can understand why there was such an opposition to that. I mean, as a journalist, and I think I said this the last time I have you on. I mean, as any journalist out there would not be for these types of changes because, well, ideally you're supposed to speak truth to power. There's not a lot of journalists that do that anymore, but you would totally be against these types of changes, I would imagine. All right, so tell us about Arkansas Citizens for Transparency. So we are anticipating that in the next legislative session, or who knows, maybe there's going to be another special session called, but we're anticipating in 2025, January, the next legislative session is going to take place, and you're anticipating these changes, that these people took one bite at the apple and they're going to get a second bite. They're going to try to do this again for whatever the reasons are, and you're trying to get this on the ballot to enshrine Freedom of Information Act protections into the Arkansas State Constitution. Tell us about it.
Yeah, can I very quickly say one additional comment about what I consider to be the gutting of our Freedom of Information Act?
Absolutely.
It just wasn't the special session. I mean, this has been going on for years, but this past legislative session, look, they tried to pass an open meeting bill, which would have allowed 1/3 of our local governing bodies like school board, JPs, city councils, 1/3 of those fit folks to meet in the back of McDonald's, on secret email chains, on text message chains, 1/3. And then we know that when those 5 meet, then one of them will split off and meet with more. So they were attempting to gut not only open records, but also open meetings. And literally, the last legislative session would have taken us from one of the strongest Freedom of Information Acts in the country to the weakest. So the people spoke up. The people showed up in mass at the Capitol, and they said, we're not standing for this. They forced us to bring this constitutional amendment / act to the people.
So Arkansas Citizens for Transparency, ballot initiatives are tough. Talk about the language, right? I mean, the language has finally been approved, correct? And that obviously had to go through Attorney General Tim Griffin's office. Was Tim Griffin a proponent of the changes that were proposed that didn't go through last time in the special session?
I would say Tim Griffin is not a fan of a strong transparency laws. Now, whether he was doing his job or not, certainly our process is that it goes through the Attorney General. But I thought that the product that was produced was very clear and was not misleading. The Attorney General, for example, he made us change the word transparency in our proposal, acting as if the people would not understand what the word transparency meant. So it went from transparency to disclosure, and to me, that's not good faith. I think the people of Arkansas are smart enough to know what transparency.
Well, maybe he
meant.
thought, everything is trans these days, Joey. So maybe that was he didn't want it to be confused with the LGBTQ issues of the day. Am I giving him the benefit of the doubt here? Is it a giant bag of infinite benefit of the doubt?
Well, we had to go through multiple versions to get to the final product, and every day that we lose is a day that we were not able to get signatures. We've got to get 90,000 on the constitutional amendment by July 5th. We've got to get 70,000 plus by July 5th on the act.
So talk about that. Why are there two positions? People need to understand this. So if you want this on the ballot, they're going to have to sign two different petitions, correct?
They are. They're going to have to sign one, which is the constitutional amendment. The other is to the act, which has the substance in it. Both of them are critical, in my opinion, to guarantee that Arkansas will absolutely be the gold standard of right to know laws, of transparency laws in the nation.